Alrighty, welcome to another exercise of going through the Rustling exercises that will help us become familiar with Rust. So this is one of the straightforward examples of dealing with if statements. Of course, we find if statements in almost every programming language. But if you're not familiar, this is a way of deciding what to do based on the state of variables. So we can check that. We can check a variety of things with having an if and then some kind of condition to hold, and then stuff that we want to do if that condition holds. Else, that is, if that other condition is not true, do something else than what's in here. So let's look at this exercise. We're given an error that says that there's an error related to the function bigger, where it takes a and b that are both signed integers of size 32 and returns an integer of size 32. And we have an error implicitly returns the unit type as its body has no tail or return expression. That's true. So implicitly, unit type is the return type of functions in Rust. The default might depend on the programming language. Like in Python, it's the none type. Some other programming languages, you may just get an error if there's no type that's been supplied. So continue on. There's a note. Consider returning one of these bindings of returning either A or B. That's fine. What is the exercise, though? If we go over to the right-hand side, it says complete this function to return the bigger number, that is between A and B, return whichever one is the bigger one. And if the numbers are equal, any of them can be returned. That should be fine. And it says do not use another function call. So there may be other ways of indirectly getting the result without using an if statement, including something that involves functions. And don't use any additional variables, which is yet another way that we might be able to implicitly define the function we're supposed to define, but without if and else. So let's jump into doing exactly that. We've got A and B. We just have to return whichever one is bigger. And like so many programming languages out there, you can just compare numbers like this as long as they have this partial order type, which integers compared to integers do, if I recall correctly. So if A is greater than B, then we want to return A. Now, as a reminder in Rust, we don't need to say like return or something like that. We can just put A by itself. That's fine. And we actually don't want to go right to an else clause. We want to go else if, because then the other branch that we might choose is B is, or we'll keep it in the same order of letters, that A is less than B, return B. Now actually, if you think about it, maybe we are overthinking this a little bit, because we only need to know return A if it's greater than B. Otherwise, there's two possibilities, right? B is greater than A, in which case we should return B, or they're equal, in which case it doesn't matter which one we return. So let's take that back. We don't need an else if. We can just go with else and remove this condition. Return B. That should do the trick. That resolves the exercise. The exercise is done. So one of the things you may have noticed is I was about to overcomplicate it, and that's sometimes very tempting when you're used to general patterns. But here, this is a very simple pattern to just pick on, look, it's going to be A or B. There's no other options that we have to check, and we don't need some, two separate comparisons and then a default. We can actually just say, check the first comparison, and under all other possibilities, it's going to be B, so just return B. Now, I should say that, we could have reversed this. Like I chose this option mostly out of some kind of default preference of following the ordering of the alphabet in the code. But you can see if we compile this, that also works. So pretty straightforward, I would say. And I think that's all I want to say for this video. It's a very straightforward exercise, and I will catch you in the next one.